Welcome everyone to Prod Web3 Day or Web3 Wednesdays. This is a public session. My name is Clemens Wan. I'm a solution architect and AI evangelist within Consensys. I've been here for 5 years, worked on a lot of fun projects, but latest 6 to 8 months or so, I've been doing a lot of work with AI. And so happy to share the latest trends and thinking pieces and demo some of the technology that I think that we will be using or could be using in the future. And so welcome. And if you haven't seen this before, there is a set of YouTube videos for last month's session as well. And I'll hopefully continue doing this for every month. So here's Vitalik as Superman, and I do a lot of fun face swapping. I'll show you how to do that later today. But effectively, I'm here to upskill Web3 contributors and companies and DAOs and other parties to answer any questions about AI. I'm happy to, do a lot of this research, watch 40 plus hours per month, and then distill them down to an hour and a bunch of slides that you can hopefully reuse. So I'll start off with just a brief introduction of where I think things are going, and then go into the latest things that are blowing my mind that are happening very quickly, and then go into a multilingual content demo, how to convert an existing video or existing content into multilingual content, or at least how I have done it before. So the first things first, Consensys has been working on AI initiatives since around April or May. We had a hackathon back then. The Cypherpunk hackathon was internal that had an AI prize. A lot of people used AI agents that we created on, at the time it was Azure Playground, and we had an open AI playground. We also granted ChatGPT and other GitHub Copilot licenses to particular users inside of the company. We also updated our company-wide policy. And I'm mentioning this is in case you are also creating an AI initiative within your Web3 company. I think it's important to first create that policy to make sure that you're not sharing anything confidential or doing summaries of meetings that are not supposed to be confidential, because for example, Bard has been indexing some of those search requests and texts. So you just have to be careful with these things. Also, a common practice is to do an applied AI or some type of Slack channel where you can decentralize and just share things that you're reading or share tools that you're working on. Within the past 8 weeks or so, we've been doing this AI takeover sprint where we gather around different types of weekly topics. I think we'll continue for a few more weeks, but effectively things like prompting or image or video generation or writing specifically deliverables for your particular role. I think all of those are important. So that's just internal facing. Externally, we've been using this for auditing some of our content, reviewing what would be optimized for SEO, thinking about how to do Discord or Slack integrations for customer support, thinking about different doc chat bots for new developer centers, and then exploring generally how this will impact the interfaces. And I have a lot of thoughts on that. So we did this last month in September as a live event for a lot of open public parties to review. So all of these are recorded and can be shared. They are unlisted. I think we put them into a YouTube playlist, but feel free to watch them. We had this session, but also Fetch AI as well as Microsoft. And later today, we'll have 3 other sessions that are super exciting. So looking forward to those. And so let's dive right in. So I'm not going to do the same intro as I did in the September session. Feel free to watch that, but I'll give you a quick summary that should catch people up. The first thing is, as we were approaching this, I think the quote from Scott Galloway is, AI is not going to replace you, but people that use AI in their daily work will replace you. As in, we want you to be more efficient and more productive and be able to leverage the tools that are available. So what we're doing here is not to say, hey, these AI agents are going to replace everything that you're doing, but you should be knowledgeable about them. And if you wanted to get started, we're going to share the links to the slides, of course, and so feel free to click through them. This is, for example, a ChatGPT Advantage open set of resources where there's prompt libraries, and you can look through different prompts, and they're actually pretty well defined. If you wanted to up your game in prompt engineering, this is all open for people to use, and you can copy it internally. Since it's a Notion page, there's also a few different types of overviews of general GPT technology and LLMs that I think are super useful. So at the surface, what's interesting to me is that for the creator economy, at least, and you see this within Canva with releasing of the Magic Studio, is that it's really like a text to idea or image or speech or music or video. And there are ways that you can do this now. You can just compile a bunch of other tools that have specialization into one tool. And I think that it would be boiling the ocean to kind of do everything together and expect one company to do it. But Canva actually did quite a good job for advertisers and for creators to do that. And this is a creation that I made called Joe Bond. And there was a kindness talk. So I'm just going to play it real quick.
Kindness means respecting your colleagues and making an effort to know your colleagues better. We're working on this as an org, and we'll soon share programs and systems that will enable us all to know ourselves and each other better. This will lead us all to in a manner that might embarrass them in internal or.
So notice how, the face moves, and hopefully people heard that and saw that. If you could respond in the chat, that would be great. So that the facial movement, this was created all AI based, which means that I just took the text from the transcription off of the Zoom recording, took 11 labs to train on Joe's voice. It was only 2 clips. It was a Not Another Virtual Hackathon clip, as well as an interview clip. And then we trained that on Joe's voice and fed in the transcript. From there, I used Midjourney to just prompt for a bald looking James Bond. And then I did an Insight face swap so I could put Joe's face, again, another public image face. And then I used a tool called DID to upload the photo, upload the audio transcription, and it created the facial movements and head movements. So I'm going to show you how to do that with Multilingual at the end with Vitalik. I did a Vitalik one as well for those who are internal. You can view how I did this end to end, which might be a longer video. So I made some predictions back in April 2023 that I think have come true a little bit, pretty close to where we're heading towards. And I have some new predictions, but for the first part of the phase, it's kind of for the individual and creator economy, meaning that those who don't use the tool will fall behind. And there's something called work arbitrage that I see, where effectively, if you're on Fiverr or Upwork or things like that, that there's kind of a mismatch of the pricing of your consulting services to what you can do automatically, or what you can do. Let's say 10% is the first starting point of you coming up with the idea. 80% of the work you can feed into ChatGPT or some LLM to do a lot of the heavy lifting, and then the last 10% is basically you cleaning it up and leveraging that research in different ways. And so that work arbitrage just means that people that are clever can use these tools properly and make money by doing multiple jobs at once, right? It's more of a consulting superpower. What I've also seen is that onboarding of employees to leverage the tools, right? It means that for the enterprise side, there are going to be more chatbots or clients or AI agents being launched internally. And I think that we are creating our own versions of quote unquote AI interns that helps you with either project management, or helps you with brainstorming, or helps you take notes during calls or catch people up, or maybe even present on your behalf. I think Google came out with some really cool tech for their meetings, where if you join at any point in the time, the bot will actually tell you what you missed, or the bot can even present things that you might be working on based on, reading Notions or reading Jira tickets or reading the different Drive, new applications that you may have written, or new specific slides that you might have written and you don't have time to present. So I think companies are starting to invest and have already invested into leveraging AI for these purposes. And the other part that I think is happening as well is that venture capital money is being much more selective. When you can create some type of demo very, very quickly, there are many fewer moats, meaning, you no longer have this ability to just create a small group of users and expand. It kind of kills off SaaS in some way. But if you can pay $20 for ChatGPT, will you pay $5 across 6 or 7 different programs that might be doing only a portion of what ChatGPT can do? And so thoughts like that tend to lead towards a deflationary pressure, meaning money that's being distributed via venture capital is going to be much smaller, because maybe you'll have a higher value for infrastructure, but overall you can probably run a hedge fund with 4 or 5 people and a much thinner tech company. And then I think the last phase, which we've seen a lot of for both individual and enterprise, is really having personal AI clones or AI agents that can either mimic a company AI or mimic certain subject matter experts internally. So, for example, one use case that I like to think about is having a digital successor. So if I'm training my AI to do things that I do or write the way I write, then perhaps if I pass away, then my digital successor can manage my trust or work on other things on my behalf from the grave, and I can be a mentor to my child and all these other things that can happen. I think for companies, for mergers and acquisitions, it's going to be a big deal. You no longer need kind of a historian that knows everything in history of the company. You can have kind of a way to comb through your company's products and all of the documents that have been created. And this particular AI bot could also have a valuation. So as if you were mining Bitcoin in the early days, and then you acquire a company that has those servers and you now have that Bitcoin value, you can also acquire a company that has a trained AI that now knows everything about your company and can be, not necessarily easier, but at least a tool for mergers and acquisitions. So I think that that's an interesting thing to think about as a transfer of value. In terms of the use cases that I thought of at first was that text to image, right? And so people have compared Uber for X, and this was from a decade ago, but you still remember where you're leveraging a gig economy, where you're creating all these gamification ways for customers and services to be matched up seamlessly, that payments is matched up seamlessly, and so you just focus on driving and you're playing a video game. And you could do that for food services, for other pieces. There was an Uber for X on Product Hunt quite a bit. Now there is a ChatGPT for X as well. And instead of thinking of it as kind of text-based, text to something, I think of it as more of training AI assistants. That seems to be the underlying, or AI agents. And that seems to be the underlying theme, is how can I make this AI agent be a personal assistant, or how can I make it be my enterprise assistant? And so what you wind up seeing is this type of marketing talking points, which is train your ChatGPT or your version on your own data and make sure that it is enterprise ready and private and has secure reviews, and then connect it to all of your existing sources and internal tools for operations. And so then it will learn and hopefully be able to increase your product shipping velocity and all these pieces. So I think that deploying it internally definitely connects to leveling up your team, thinking about things, deploying it into your Slack channels, training your co-pilot to mentor different new joiners and ask questions and reroute to all of the artifacts that you may have created. And then on the public space, and I think that these two should be separate agent bots, because there are obviously like grandmother attacks for different bots. So if you ask for secret keys that might be linked to your GitHub, right, I wouldn't connect everything to this AI overlord, but you might be tempted to do so. Make sure that what you're training is very specific and you're not exposing the two different bots to the same people. In terms of how this influences Web3, or how I've seen Web3 projects, or kind of basically any Web2 company that's thinking about having an AI division, what they usually do is thinking about either uploading some type of onboarding mechanism. So maybe chat with your docs, which is fairly up to speed. Or you can think about education, so having an AI tutor, thinking about coding assistance, so using Copilot and other mechanisms. If you're writing your Web3 contracts, there's already a bunch of really interesting smart contract bots that are out there for education. You can also write GPT plugins, or maybe eventually BART extensions, where you can connect, kind of like Zapier, being able to have your bot authenticate who you are, and then be able to, if this, then that, connect a bunch of workflows together. And I think the final thing to think about is what does GPT SEO look like? So search engine optimization in the past is all based on advertising, which was the original sin of the internet, right? We were basically paying for these zero cost things, and we became the product in many ways. But search engine optimization for LLMs means that you are recommended things. So if I say, what's the top 5 wallets? Why does MetaMask come up all the time? It's because it is one of the top 5 wallets. But if you pay other types of services, which network should I deploy my contracts to? Like, how does it recommend linear versus other types of networks, or will it recommend non-EVM networks? Who knows? So all these things that I feel that each LLM may have different types of optimizations, but you may want to either create a breadth of content or also pay for advertising. Maybe different LLMs are being swayed by advertising. I'm sure Bing has been doing some of that as well. For internal usage, I think DAO onboarding would be a great use case, just to learn usually there's a Notion page with the manifesto with all these tools. So being able to understand that fairly quickly, and then growing towards product feature releases. So ideally for me, if everything was developer driven, then all of the documentation that you create can be reviewed by some AI project manager, and then a lot of the middle office activities where you kind of just pass between other middle office people thinking about management could be, reallocated to do something else. And I think that would be really valuable. If you wanted to look at a company, and we've never contacted ChainGPT, but if you're interested, I thought it did a pretty good job in describing what people see as, the core attributes of Web3 and how you would overlay a AI agent into these Web3 attributes. So they launched a CGPT token. Again, did not buy this token. It's just kind of how they tie it together. But the solutions themselves, I think, are super interesting, and they're kind of well done. There is a chatbot solution where you can, basically connect to GPT-4 as a regular chatbot. There are premium solutions where they require CGPT in order to unlock them, but something like a smart contract auditor. There's AI trading assistants that they're building out. You can ask different, like character AI, the ability to talk to different crypto people, like CZ or something, or SBF. And then there's AI NFT generators, so using AI generation to create images and then launching NFTs off of them directly, giving prompt examples and such, and maybe something specific for DAOs. And so feel free to look through it. I'm not saying that this is perfect, but I think they've actually done a pretty good job in representing summaries of news or summaries of staking and different types of prompts that I think are useful. So feel free to look through that in your own time. Just thought that it was useful in thinking about, what are normally some Web3 applications and how do they manifest this way. Another interesting use case is ETH Research just launched the ETH Research bot. So there's somebody internally that shared this, Amal, I believe. And so let me share this here. Effectively, it is a bot that looks at all of the documentation from Ethereum research and then tweets the summary based on GPT-4. And so it uses ELL5 for each new post, summarize the post takeaways, directs the links to the full post, and then just launches it as a Twitter/X bot. So another great use case, in the past, you would have to build some type of crawler to, look at your RSS feed for every new article, and then you would have to, come up with some quick summary yourself or some other way of summarizing. And now it is a very highly accessible bot that you can just launch right away. This is the last piece of kind of this part, is to think about generative AI and the tech stack that's available. This is from Sequoia. Feel free to read through this as well. It talks about interactive AI, which we'll talk about next, but a lot of good material thinking about where the space is going for enterprise, as well as for general consumer. From a personal perspective, the reason why I find this tech so interesting is you no longer just have to be a pure developer. You can be assisted by a lot of these things. So if you have a vision, it can come true quite easily if you just take the time to dig deeper. It's kind of like the internet having all knowledge. If you just took the time, you could probably learn anything you want to, but here you actually have an AI assistant to help you do so. So this part is blowing my mind, and I was thinking about AI scaling. We were doing the decentralized infrastructure network within Infura, and we were talking about how RPC infrastructure scales. So this is Web3 gateway. How do I get access to all these different networks? And so if you think about vertical scaling, this is the idea, and maybe the good comparison is looking at computers and how they've evolved. They started off with single-threaded, single-chip processors, very low RAM. And then you can scale vertically by just increasing the power of your machine, right? So if you have a very powerful machine, then it can do more. It can do more caching. It can do more abilities, maybe even multi-threading. And next is horizontal scaling. So how do I replicate more machines and be able to reroute with the load balancer to those machines? So this is a way, instead of just vertically getting more powerful, you're actually horizontally spreading out. And then you have to solve the decentralization problem of keeping all those nodes together. But effectively, these are the tried and true ways of scaling, and they apply to blockchains, they apply to RPC, they apply to computers. You have multi-core processors, you have multi-threaded processors. If you think about it from a blockchain perspective, I presented on this before. These diagrams are from Ben Edgington, who presented this last year. Actually, he was thinking about how to best inform the layer one evolution of Ethereum. And so if you think about layer one as your slower but highly secure layer, then layer twos allow you to scale by a multi-core, right? By having another piece that saves meta transactions together and then saves it to layer one. And so rollups continue to grow. You can optimize on throughput. Think about credit cards. If you have a Visa, MasterCard, right, as you're swiping, I believe it optimizes to around 7,000 transactions per second, optimized on confirmations, but not settlement. And so that is your layer two. That's kind of what we've been building. And then your layer one would be central bank or bank-to-bank kind of settlement through Swift. What you improve in terms of the latest dank sharding and kind of upgrades with blobs and then sharded blobs is effectively you are then making L2 commits a lot cheaper, which means you're also doing multi-threading in some way. So you're doing parallel processing. Now you don't just have a global computer that's single-threaded, that's single core, but you have multi-core where like-minded types of activities can be grouped together, maybe by industry, maybe in other ways. So just thinking about that for scaling, what does it look like for AI scaling? And so there was a paper, this was actually done back in February of this year. I'm going to share some of these documents. And again, we're going to share these, but this is a replay of February. And what they did was they created a kind of like a gather town type of simulation where everybody was able to do their own work. They apply different attributes to these parties. They have different state details as well. So they each know the state, they are interacting with each other, and they can actually have conversations with each other. So they have daily requirements that are built into each of these parties, working on novel writing project and what type of writing has come out. And they also have some autonomy of how they've put this through. So this was an early simulation back in February, just by using all these chatbots in a village and seeing how they interact together. So super cool. Back in February. So how does that scale next? So something launched with Microsoft called AutoGen. This is full GitHub and paper is available. I can share that with people as well if they're interested. So I'm going to do a quick demo of it because it's all on Google Colab and it's pretty easy to do. So if you go to the GitHub of AutoGen, effectively what it does, and maybe I should explain it before I go into this, we are talking about using agents and deploying them to work with each other. And so where did that screen go? Okay, so here it is a main agent or a set of agents that are able to converse with each other, and they can have different roles. So you can say, well, you are the CTO role, or you are, just the Slack bot, and you are, learning all the things that have been written in Slack, for example, and then you can jointly chat with each other. And so this particular multi-threading of agents, what it looks like, here you go, is this. There are examples that you can use. You can install it locally, but you can also run it directly on Google Colab. So here is their documentation of examples, and I've clicked on this one, which is an AutoGen auto feedback type of bot. And so if you click here, you can open on Colab. I've already done so over here. And for those who haven't used Google Colab, effectively, it's kind of, inline execution of different codes on kind of a virtual machine in the backend. And so if you wanted to, you can basically run all of these commands in line. So I can install my Pi AutoGen, it will do so. In the backend, you can import, this is my API key for GPT-4 off of OpenAI. I will revoke it after this, but effectively you create a config list and you set your API key, and then you will, from there, looks like Jupyter Notebook exactly. And then from there, you can actually run all of this Python code in line. And so it will set this up. And here the prompt is, what date is it today? Compare the year and date gain for Meta and Tesla. And it will do this activity in the backend, ask the LLM. And so the thing that we're looking for is how the user proxy AutoGen agent talks to the assistant AutoGen agent. And AutoGen, this was launched with AutoGPT, which was probably back in June or so, effectively. And also, this is what you see in Code Interpreter or the Advanced Analysis, Analytics, Data Analytics. I think that's what it's called now. Effectively, it will retry different methods of solving the problem instead of just giving up and saying, well, I don't know how to do that. And so this was executing before. It will, so the assistant talks to the user proxy saying, hey, let me write some Python code. It runs into errors. And then the proxy asks for an upgrade or some type of new, and it's able to actually get this value. So it has pulled it from some library, maybe a Y-Finance library, and is able to install it. So the next part of this is to create a chart, and these are all kind of inbuilt examples, but you can extend it as needed to different ticker symbols or there's a lot of really cool things that are being created. But effectively, it will generate a image of the latest price, and maybe if there's a jump today, I haven't looked at the markets are opening right now, but we shall see. But yeah, so the idea is that the user proxy is talking to the assistant agent, and you can actually create many, many agents that talk to each other. And so I'm going to revoke my API key in case somebody saw it. Done. All right, feel free to poke around. I think it's super fascinating. And what does that lead to? So this leads to a university research called ChatDev. And ChatDev has really, again, everything blows my mind here, but this is super fascinating. What they did was they took all these AI agents and told themselves to be particular company roles. And so you are in the design role, you are an expert, you have ideas, and you are part of C-suite, and you can perform some type of strategy for the rest of the groups, and you talk to each party. And then there's like a documentation group of people writing things, and they ran this in such a way that it was able to build a video game in 7 minutes. And they have full documentation of what the AI bots talk to each other about. And they used, for example, waterfall method of building it out. So let's see, communicative agents. If you look at the PDF over here, it showcases how they've used different pieces. So here, for example, they use a waterfall method to chat between different CEO parties with different programmers, designers, and they made a whole library of video games. So the first game took about $1 to make, and they do native testing with each other as well. So one party is just the tester, the programmer passes it in between. And so 2-Minute Papers did a really good review of this as well. But the thing that blew my mind was that it can also build an AI game simulation inside of the simulation. And so if you follow that recursively, you see like video games all the way down, meaning if this simulation has built a bunch of AI agents, they can use those agents to join other simulations or build new agents that are optimized. So this whole company could be an AI game agent simulation company. And then you can have those agents also eventually think of building their own AI simulation games to solve the problem. If they're unable to solve it themselves, they can recursively, it's kind of like Inception, but with simulations. And so maybe we're living in a simulation, who knows? Conspiracy theory. So what this leads to is my thought on where things are going towards. So interactive AI is kind of the new trend. But let's talk about what has happened so far. So all of the independently trained and configured large language models that exist have been trained on some type of public data. There is a trade-off on what type of public data versus the purpose of your particular LLM versus when there's a cutoff date. You know, as the size of your data grows and it gets more expensive to run it. Then there's abilities to ask for live public data. Usually it's an API call where you do a search, you receive some pieces of that search, and then you wind up, you know, taking that and reading the new data. It's not just, hey, let me take a snapshot of what was real, and then it's very selective. What people have also done is say, well, I have a smaller set of trained private data. Maybe this is your data lake of some sort. The recording will be shared. There's also live private data and preferences that might be associated with that. And then what we've seen with, at least with Bard and with GPT-4, is plugins and extensions. So maybe the plugin allows me to authenticate with Spotify, so I can log in with Spotify. And then there's a bot that basically creates, you know, Spotify playlists of some sort. And if you extrapolate this further, what you wind up doing is you use AI as a coordinating agent, meaning your interactions with APIs are now all types of, semantic-based interactions. So imagine if instead of writing JSON calls, writing API calls to process JSON files, you are just asking your AI agent to talk to each other. And so other agents can exist as interfaces. And with that, you build your personal web apps and dApps that interact with these types of AI coordinating agents. And I think that will be a little bit easier to be future-proof. So we're going to be in a world of coordinating AI agents in the future. What's happened in the last month? So I've shared the AI trending news kind of dashboard, and I think the same three things I highlighted last month is the same as this month. The big ones being that big companies are rolling out new products in unprecedented speed, and they're announcing them, but they've been in development for the past 6 months. And also existing IT vendors like Canva, for example, are providing upgrades to their existing tools at no extra cost. And they're doing this because they want to stay competitive. They don't want to lose, you know, some particular, let's say I'm using Canva and I do a bunch of work, you know, on Midjourney, and then I copy it over. They want everything to be in one place so that you are, you know, using their activities and leveraging their services. There's also definitely a creator impact with deepfakes that I've seen. Definitely a big thing to think about is what can you trust on the internet? I mean, right now you can't really trust anything anyway, but what can you trust of people if they are also able to augment their view of their social media in some way? The big news of big players, and this was the same as last month, but I just added some links to some predictions. So over the past month, Meta AI came out with live chatbots that you can talk to now on WhatsApp and on Facebook Messenger. You can chat with an AI agent, and I'll show a demo of them. I guess I could demo it, but I would say that the one that has been most quiet is Apple. They have talked about Siri integration. They've talked about iOS integration, but you know, Microsoft has their leg up with their work with OpenAI directly, with Windows 11 apps that are being launched. And I think Google is really trying to figure out the best way to connect all of their services together with AI. You know, again, this AI agent as an API for everything. Okay. I would say that the next big thing is going to be wearables or leveraging your existing voice assistants in wearables. So the first thing is there are open source versus closed source LLMs. The largest closed source LLM is GPT-4 at around 1.7 trillion parameters. those parameters, don't necessarily reflect its performance, but it does reflect the amount of data that's been ingested. The new smaller LLMs that are created are actually done so by doing a LLM to LLM training. So if you ask GPT-4 to train your new AI LLM, you can actually say, well, what's the answer to all these questions in some test? And then on top of that, say, can you describe your reasoning behind those answers? Then it's a shortcut to learning all of the intricacies. And so this does not necessarily mean that you have full AGI. It just means that your subset, smaller LLM, may be able to do all the tasks that you want it to do. It might not need to learn everything. It might just be a very, very small LLM that you can then install directly on your phone that's privately on an enclave of some sort. And so I think lowering hardware requirements is definitely one of those new things that are happening and has been happening. In terms of open source, Llama has come out with their different levels and different sizes of LLMs. You have Falcon that's come out with different levels and different sizes, and it's all available in Hugging Face if you ever wanted to look through it. What will be next likely is some voice-based operating system or some voice-based assistant. I've always loved AirPods. I've always loved the idea of kind of the movie Her in some way, right? It's really just chatting with a personalized operating system. This is also the rewind pendant. You wear it around your neck and it listens and transcribes everything that you're doing throughout the day. And then it's able to, give you a summary of that. And then you can do like GPT summaries, or you can ask your LLM, what can I have done better? Who did I talk to today? Can you help me journal? Things like that. I think mental health is also part of that. But effectively, you have a customized LLM on your phone itself. And of course, a lot of subscriptions and add-ons that you can do. But I feel like this is what we're heading towards based on a lot of really interesting things that it's kind of like a setup, right? Each month you're going to see the new things that are coming out. Tricorder, yes. And so the latest big kind of ticket items, Bard released that it's able to do extensions where it can do all of Google Workspace searchable, meaning that they will be adding on one of their hundreds of products. If you ever wanted to know all the products that Google has, it's pretty impressive. And it's all very, very well organized and documented. But effectively, they're starting off with API of just pure data, right? So if I wanted to look up latest flights or hotels or locations or directly connect my workspace for documents that I've written, it will be read-only at first, but then it will get a lot more interactive. Maybe it's summary of everything. Maybe it's summary of photos, or, reconstituting some memories together with, maybe it's like shopping. How do I get the best shopping advice, not just from Amazon, which is definitely a centralized point of influence and monopoly, but there are other ways to also get that data. Maybe it's connecting to financial markets and getting advice from there to create a portfolio advisor. Maybe it's creating content easier, and Canva also has done that. There's also a deeper integration with Google Assistant, maybe with Lens. So when you take a photo, does comparisons to all the photos that's come around. And so Assistant with Bard has come out as well. So all of your assistant powers, meaning you can focus on commands, you can recommend different Google search links off of those commands. You can do name that song, which I like to do is, what am I listening to right now? It's also integrated with your operating system. So it can create calendar events. It can, create timers, all these little things. But then it has the Bard powers of being conversational. So you can talk with the assistant and not just have it say, here's a bunch of searches that I found, or here's a Wikipedia article. It can actually read it to you. It can interact with you. It can learn directly and then reference those Google searches and summarize them. And I think that's just a step away. And I think it could be launched directly into the next version of the Android operating system pretty quickly. And I would imagine other voice activations to be similar, right? To have extensions, to have the ability for people to write these types of ways to interact. The YouTube creator is also going to be a big piece of this. So different features, and this was directly from news that they've launched around AI insights around YouTube Create, ways to edit videos, way to do multilingual directly. Maybe they're coming up with ways to process that so that you can have one channel with a playlist of all of your different languages that are available. So Meta AI, and they launched this extremely quickly. You're able to chat with these, and if you have WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, you can do that now. I found that this guy over here that talks about cooking is really cheeky and doesn't like to talk about any, is very arrogant. Tamika's really cool because I love anime, and chat with her about like different types of animes and asked about plot lines and different types of things. And I thought that was pretty interesting. This is close to Pi.ai or Character.ai, where they train it to be more of a conversational agent. So it'll ask you every now and again, like, oh, how did you like that show? Or how did you like that movie? Or how did you like the dish that I recommended? Did you actually cook the dish that I recommended? And I think that the interface through chat is super interesting. Instead of just having a direct chat bot on a website, if it's inside of a chat messenger, you can do replies. So as you do emoji responses or a reply to a thread, I think it has more data so that it can be more specific. You can also add your AI bot to a chat group, and then multiple people can chat with the same AI bot, and you can recommend, coming up with plans for date night or something like that. So it is pretty cool. The AI companion with Microsoft Copilot came out on September 21st, and Brendan, who's on the call, said something really funny, which is, I'm still not upgrading to Windows 11, not using Bing, not using Edge, thanks Microsoft. So I think that's a great summary of the opportunity for Microsoft, because Bing is already a low running thing. But with DALL-E 3 in Bing Image Creator, they have been seeing an up ramp of usage. I don't know if it's temporary, but the Bing app is actually quite nice on Android. I've been using it, just for summaries of news and things like that. I think it has the right idea. So GPT-4 Vision has come out, GPT-4V or GPT-4 Vision. There's a paper, there's a lot of great videos. I believe Matt VidPro came out with 100 use cases that they've seen. The best way to look at them is to just do a search on X, Twitter, to see what people have come up with. So this one's like Pokemon Go, take a photo of it. It basically uses Google Lens or that type of feature, and it names it, and then it converts it to a JSON. And then you're able to, pretty easily just do kind of real life searches. So that would be kind of cool, right? Based on this, creates a JSON file, store it somewhere, looking at different, what's wrong with this x-ray, reading x-rays. I don't even know how they're doing this. It's kind of crazy. Thinking about ways that you can park, figuring out locations based off of photos. So this is clearly much broader than just being able to read with OCR, being able to read that information. Oh, see, you can have DALL-E 3 for updates. Maybe I already have the update. And it's being tested and slowly rolled out. So I think by next month, I'll have a lot of examples and I'll share that. But people have been taking pictures of their fridge and saying, like, what can I cook with the things in my fridge? It's a lot of really, really crazy. This one's, what did my doctor write as a prescription? And it's able to say the name of the drug. That's pretty cool. Anyway, a lot of great examples. Again, you're probably, those who are on the call probably have looked through some of them, but I've just been browsing that hashtag. You can actually use it right now if you use Bing. Bing has, the Bing app allows you to chat with it. So I just upload it. I don't think it uploads pictures of people, so it won't read pictures of people, but I made like a pizza and I was able to ask it, can you generate AI images similar to the picture? And it did, I guess, pizzas, which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, you could test around with the Bing app. Again, not sponsored by Microsoft or Bing, but if you wanted access to DALL-E 3, as well as access to this, it's pretty good. In terms of more practical, V0 Dev is for Vercel, and this is fully available. If you have a Vercel account, you can start typing in different things, maybe a SAS admin dashboard, Unicode chessboard, and it shows you the code that it's written. So it's pretty cool. You can regenerate as needed, and buttons of different colors. So another use case that I've seen is, here's a picture of a Figma. Can you convert that directly to code? and it does that as well. So a lot of fun things that are happening really, really quickly. I have not signed with Bing. So what you narrate is what you get. So instead of WYSIWYG from early days, what you see is what you get. What you narrate is what you get is the new kind of theme. This is just an example that I played around with called Suno.ai. Again, I have no association with these things, but if you wanted to test it out, Suno.ai, you can chat with it on Discord, and I can actually show you as I was chatting with it. Here you can chat with the Suno bot. And if you go to your own Suno chirp bot, you can say chirp, and then you can make up a song about something. And what it does is you can have it in bluegrass, or have ChatGPT come up with the lyrics themselves. They come up with 15 seconds of lyrics. Let's call it AI Takeover at Consensys. Sure. And then it will basically use ChatGPT-4 to come up with a verse and a chorus, and then it will do some magic and to make it into a video. And there's examples of them. You can then download them. I did one for MetaMask, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, they got it tight. Man, them nuts be shining like a star in the night. Night and night, the best while the hands down. Web3 revolution, we run this town. 60 slow, my token is just so fly. Man and that's got my back, never have to wonder why.
Pretty cool. So yeah, it'll generate that, and I believe it's free. I haven't paid for it. Okay, so let's go into the fun part. What do I use? First of all, I do not just use ChatGPT for everything. I think it does really well for writing as well as for harder reasoning tasks. I found that Claude has a much larger context window of 100,000 tokens, which is like 75,000 words. And so if you wanted to have it read a longer PDF, then I think it does a better job of keeping that context. In terms of general internet access, I've used Bing, but actually ChatGPT came out with the Bing extension again, so you can have it chat with live results as well. There's also been plugins like Superpower Daily has one that Superpower has a plugin that overlays on ChatGPT. There's also like live web results, and what they do is just kind of what you send through ChatGPT is padded with a bunch of material. So it does the search, it gets the results separately through some API, and then informs through your chat analysis. And then general internet tasks and image analysis tasks I've done with Bard, because I think Bard connects to their arts and general arts and culture, which is all the museums in the world. They've fully digitized, and you can go to the museum. So if you give anything around art history, like here's a piece of artwork, it'll tell you the history and send you a link to that piece of artwork. That has always been fun for me. In terms of either a company or a DAO, what actually happens, you can think about fun examples. So the top is traditional business. You have different roles. On the bottom, you have DAO-driven projects, which is pretty similar. It's just more decentralized. It has fewer tech overhead. It's more about managing a treasury under a group of parties rather than working kind of more hierarchically. So the things that I've tested, and I can do more detailed analysis of this and share how I do these activities. But the one that I want to go through is deploying a multilingual audio and video file. I only have 9 minutes left, so I can't do this all together. But this was a Vitalik Superman that I did, and I believe all of this is public already anyway.
Respecting your colleagues and making an effort to benefit from institutionalizing that pattern. Kindness means never.
So I trained this on a Bankless podcast, and if you look at 11 Labs, it's still here, speech synthesis. You can go to your voice lab, and you can see I've trained Vitalik, and if you edit it, it's really just one file. It's a MP3 file that I pulled from public, and I kind of chopped it down, and it became Vitalik's voice. And so if I can use this, this was the original text. There's multilingual, so it does pronounce things properly. So if I wanted to convert this text to German, for example, I can do so. And I've also been running this. Oh, I didn't turn it on, but this is a lot live transcribing. It's called voice. It's called voice typing on your Google Docs, and it's fully. Oh, maybe it's because I'm running other things, but once it goes out of context, it doesn't really work as well. I've used this for meetings before, and it does pretty good. It's free transcription, and I'm able to either talk out my ideas and then summarize them. But it should run in the background as I do other things. For those who haven't tested Bard before, you can actually do direct translations directly in Bard. So I just pasted that kindness talk, and I asked it for the German translation, and then it'll even read it out loud.
Wir werden bald Programme und Systeme vorstellen, die es uns allen ermöglichen, uns selbst und einander besser kennenzulernen.
So that's the German version of it. Let's just do this much. And then if you wanted to see Vitalik's voice, speak it in German. I haven't not done this test yet, but I have quota. So let's generate it and see what happens. So it's using Multilingual v2, and it will generate that. And so what's happening is, and I like drawing diagrams, so you'll see a lot of diagrams. For multilingual content, you have your original audio in English. You can either do a audio to text transcription. There's OpenAI's Whisper you can directly install. You can also then from there do multilingual text translations off of your transcription. So then you have your English version, you have your translated version, and then you can feed it into 11 Labs. You can then do your video generation, and that would be the long method. There's also direct audio to audio conversion. So Spotify is doing this with podcasts. I'm sure, YouTube is going to be doing that with video. And then there's something called HeyGen, which I've used for video to video conversion directly, which based on the timing, I think I'll skip to that, but I will play.
Zu respektieren und sich bemühen, sie besser kennenzulernen. Wir arbeiten als Organisation daran und werden bald Programme.
So it's pretty good. I think it sounds like German. And DID, for those who haven't used it before, if you create your video project, you can actually add an image off of it. So if I added, and let's just create an image because I do have a little bit of time. You add the Midjourney bot over, and let's just, I think I was doing this in face swap. Oh, applied AI, there he is. So I'm going to set ID to V, which is Vitalik, and then let's just do any superhero requests. I was just doing Sherlock Holmes and style of anime. Maybe I can get an anime Sherlock Holmes. And then you could do a face swap directly. So this is the original, and then with the face swap tool, if you wanted a end-to-end of how I did it, I'm probably just going to use one of these. This is easier. Let's use this guy. Although, and then you right click and you go to InSwapper and you have a Vitalik version. I'll need for that to continue. So from there, pretty good. I can save the image and then I can upload it to here, add this new image, and then add the audio from 11 Labs, which is under voice library. Vitalik had better muscles, got it. History, so it just created this. And so I can download it and then upload it. Maybe I could do this live. What you wind up doing is doing a quick conversion, and then you have the audio file and you can do quite a bit of fun stuff with it. And so this will, again, edit the facial structure, move it around. This is a minute long. I can generate the video now. I got some credits, which is great. And let's let that generate. And it'll be in German. And so the last piece that I wanted to cover is a direct translation. And so HeyGen does HeyGen Labs, where you can directly do this video translate if you're curious. And so I did that. It took, I think there were like 700 or so different jobs ahead of me, but you can pay for a free version to upload, and you can do multiple languages. So you can translate the video to any of these languages, and it will do a direct translation and also update the mouth movements to match the mouth movements of the new audio. So that's what I uploaded here. It's both DID, and that was the original video, and then HeyGen is the overlay. So this is a direct translation of the audio conversion as well.
Wir arbeiten daran als eine Organisation und werden bald Programme und.
So they did not ask for any audio. So it actually did the audio translation off of analyzing the voice clip that it got. So it's doing kind of a bunch of little tasks in between. And let's see if this is done yet. And it is. Look at that.
Freundlichkeit bedeutet, ihre Kollegen zu respektieren und sich bemühen, sie besser kennenzulernen. Wir arbeiten als Organisation daran und werden bald Programme und Systeme vorstellen, Umgebung über alles und.
Pretty cool. And that's how you create multilingual. And you could do it in multiple ways. But from my perspective, I think it's probably easier to do it all at once with something like HeyGen. And let's see if this has continued transcribing. No, it has stopped. But for those who listen in on calls, you can use this. There's also other AI bots. I can share the deck immediately after. Well, once we post the video, which will be on YouTube, probably unlisted again, I'll put it in the comments, or yeah, and then you'll be able to view this. Any questions? I kind of covered quite a bit, and happy to do more fun things. Thanks, Joe. Yeah, I personally, the YouTube channel is once you get all of this, well,
it is the Consensys Media YouTube channel.
Yeah, it's I think we're going to put it all into a playlist because it is currently unlisted. Yeah, I still think the video games all the way down is going to keep me up at night. Marta, did you want to say anything about the upcoming events just in the last few seconds? What to look forward to? I have it pulled up here. There is
there we go. Sorry, was looking forward to before my unmute button. We have 3 more sessions coming up. One is with Self app, Self AI, which is an autonomous, truly personal assistant. I'm quite curious what you all think about it. I know Clemens and I have been testing it for a while, and it's quite fun. With Microsoft, and then with Chain ML. To any of the talks, you have the links to all of the talks, so I'm really looking forward to seeing you all there in just an hour or so.
Great. Thank you so much. We'll share the recording and also the slides. Cheers, everyone.